Yo, what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Movie Newbie. I'm your host, Jibril Hami, and as usual, we are joined by Ollie and Raf. How about you guys say hello?
Bonjour.
Stick 'em up. That's it. That's all we got. That's all we got for today, folks. We're done.
We're done.
Good night.
All right, see ya.
All right.
We ran out of time.
Well, today we're going to be discussing another film in the French New Wave, and it would be Raf's last film
Already
of this theme. Yeah, already.
So quick.
Yeah,
What
so
happened?
quick.
Everyone, French New Wave this one goodbye. Oui, motherfuckers.
Nice.
Yeah, and what a way to end it on a strong note with the Don himself, François Truffaut, who we've experienced before with 400 Blows. That really blew you away, didn't it? 400 times. That was weird. So let's move swiftly onwards. So Jules,
Keep it clean, Raf.
and John,
There are children listening.
It definitely
Maybe.
made me breathless.
Nice.
Yeah.
Did you go to Clio from 5 to 7 on that one? Doesn't make any sense, does it?
We tried.
Let me Jules and Jim out of here and talk about this film. Jules and Jim were Jules et Jim. It's François Truffaut's arguable masterpiece in a list of arguable masterpieces that he has. But this is up there to some. Some see it as his crowning achievement, his magnum opus. It's co-written by him, but it's a novel, a semi-autobiographical novel by Henri Pierre Rocher. I don't know why I'm saying it in English. And it stars Henri Serre, Oscar Werner, and Jeanne Moreau as the kind of titular characters that form a love triangle amongst themselves. And that's pretty much what the story is about. It's about a decade or decades-long love triangle between these three characters, pre-World War and goes through kind of several decades into that. And this movie's really complex. I've watched it 3 times, and I always get such a strong sense of complexion, and I never quite know how to decipher it in my head. But all I can feel is that I relate so much to Oscar Werner, who plays Jules, and I don't know if this film always sends me on a loop because I feel like I've experienced this love triangle before. I've experienced being in that situation and how difficult it is to navigate both parties, how difficult it is to comprehend what it feels like when it's, a boundless friendship and an uncontrollable love. So it's a really hard one and a hard one not to judge these characters, and none of these characters judge each other. So you can't really judge any of them, yet you feel like you're judging yourself. It's like, it sends me on a loop. It really does. And with all that, it's so beautifully filmed. It's so technically impressive. It's so impactfully acted. For me, Jeanne Moreau is steals the show, steals the scenes. She's incredible. She once I believe Orson Welles called her the greatest actress of her generation, and she's just impeccable in this film. She plays it flawlessly, as well as Oscar and as well as Henri. I don't think there is a film without these three, and it's also beautifully written. And it's a technical marvel. There's some really interesting scenes in this, beautifully shot scenes, to the point where we did, I think, in the previous episode, reference. You said Tarantino, Martin Scorsese, all these filmmakers that have a strong impression. Wes Anderson, that have a strong impression of the French New Wave. this is one of the films, especially Martin Scorsese, which I believe he linked a lot of the Goodfellas to this film.
Yeah.
The punk attitude towards this film, the kind of avant-gardeness, the kind of disregard to formality and to convention. This is what Goodfellas was inspired by.
It was like kind of like a trio as well in Goodfellas.
It was,
right?
yeah,
that
and
kind of like fallout.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that quintessential three, the rule of three, is very apparent in here, and it has been apparent since.
It kind of reminded me in a weird way. I think it was the Jane Campion film with Benedict Cumberbatch, the Western
Power of the Doge.
Power of the Dog. Yeah. How it was kind of told from three different perspectives of like something similar happening. I don't know. It kind of felt like a modern version of what this film kind of represented in a way. I don't know. It was. You can see that this film was like the basis for a lot of modern filmmakers.
Oh,
to
absolutely.
This day.
I think what I'd written, what I wrote down in my notes was that, and I also put this in my Letterboxd review. Follow me on there, please. Thank you. And I feel like this is the like a skeleton key movie. Do you know what that term means? It's like a
great film.
So skeleton key. Well, no, not quite. I'm not talking about skeleton key with Kate Hudson. A skeleton key is a key that unlocks like many different different rooms.
Right.
It's like a universal key.
Like a universal key, exactly. And I feel like this is the skeleton key influence for a lot of modern day American filmmakers in particular. Yeah, Martin Scorsese, Tarantino, Wes Anderson, big time, Noah Baumbach, Greta Gerwig. I think there's loads of contemporary
I don't think there's
filmmakers
anyone that wouldn't have been influenced by this film.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true. I think Scorsese said in a recent interview that he felt with cinema there was before French New Wave and there was after French New Wave. The new Hollywood directors of which he was a part of, they wouldn't have been around if French New Wave hadn't come by and completely exploded the form. But yeah, like you watch Goodfellas and you see the whip pans, you see the fades, you see
the narration.
You see the dolly zooms. I mean, Spielberg, there's a dolly zoom in this film, you know?
Yeah, and there's even like a freaking Star Wars style like transition where I think it's Jim looking out the window. And then it like does this weird transition of like a wipe kind of from the top right corner into the left. And it's Jules and what's her name? Catherine? Catherine walking away into the forest or whatever.
And all made with, a fucking skeleton crew. I think 15 people were involved in this film, It's barely any money to the point where Jean Moreau had to...
It looks like it's quite an expensive production to me.
Yeah. I mean, it's expensive in terms of the French New Wave, but still kind of in comparison.
There are like helicopter shots in this movie. There's so many different sets.
Well, I believe Jeanne Moreau funded the rest of this film because they ran out of budget towards the end. That she, out of her own means, kind of funded the rest of the movie. So if anything, without Jeanne, this movie might not have been made. But yeah, all these brilliant technical wizardry and mastery, all made with just a very little budget,
and people with infinite amount of passion
and creativity. Yeah, for sure. So it just tells you that you don't really need a massive budget to make art.
Yeah.
You can just need talented people.
Yeah. Actually, I was going to say...
let's make a movie.
French New Wave kind of reminds me of like early... like YouTube kind of DIY filmmakers, like trying 100%. To use their like minimal equipment and shoestring
like
budgets.
PewDiePie is like
not like that, but like
but I get.
Do you remember that the I think he's Korean American?
Yes, Hawaii. I think he's Hawaiian, right?
No, like I don't know. There was this guy that used to do like basically
How to Be a Ninja?
To recreate. No, I'm talking about the guy who like recreated Call of Duty and stuff. And he was really awesome at special effects that he did at home. And now he's like one of the most like
sought after
special effects guys in cinema.
Oh, YouTube, cool. Man, YouTube, the birthplace for a lot of creatives, for sure.
Which YouTube has now surpassed Netflix as the choice for. Not Gen Z, but the ones younger than Gen Z. I think Gen
There's a younger than Gen Z?
Yeah.
Well, listen up, Gen A's. We are on YouTube.
Yeah, we are. We are on YouTube.
We are?
Yeah, you can listen to this on YouTube. Yeah.
Check us out.
Yeah. I just thought it was I like the whole DIY aspect of French New Wave.
Yeah. So, guys, thoughts?
Initial thoughts.
Yeah.
I'll just chime in first. I fucking love this movie. I'd never seen it
Nice.
before, and I can't believe I'd never seen it before. So I've been watching a few Francois Truffaut movies in the last couple of years, and so I was big into my French New Wave since I first started watching them as a teenager.
Prepubescent.
Yes, and I for me at the beginning it was always Jean-Luc Godard and Eric Romer were my two guys, and I think Francois Truffaut is kind of supplanting Godard in a way, because each film of his I've watched has just it's added to my appreciation for him as a filmmaker. And I know that this film was a really big deal. I know that it's seen as one of the essential films, but it had always eluded me.
Yeah.
And so I was really happy to finally sit down and watch it. And I don't know why, but whenever I'd seen clips from the movie, it was always that scene of them running along the bridge, and there was that handheld shot. And for some reason, I thought it was going to be like a really lo-fi DIY kind of scrappy film in the same vein as Breathless. I didn't realize it was going to be this period piece that spans different decades and tells this incredibly complicated, complex, tragic, funny, heartbreaking, colorful, like super melancholic story about these three people and their sort of entangled feelings for one another. I really, really liked it. What really stood out to me as well, in addition to the crazy style that was on screen, was and the performances as well of the main trio, was I really liked how this felt like a book in many respects, in that the first act is like is significantly different in terms of tone and style to the second and third act, I guess.
Yeah.
And I feel like how that's a metaphor for what happened when the First World War arrived.
Yeah.
So in the first act, you get it from that wonderful opening credit sequence where you've got like the carousel music. It's like bam, 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 and you're just seeing. You've never even seen these people. You're already watching a montage of how
they live,
exciting and vibrant their lives are in the streets of Paris.
It was
They're
very much
bohemian
like,
artists.
What's that guy's name? The comedian, the British one with the stick and the top hat.
Stan and Ollie? Charlie Chaplin?
Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Like Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, it was like something
Yeah.
from one of those old silent movies. It was so colorful and vibrant and fun.
That bohemian lifestyle,
And
man.
that bohemian lifestyle. Exactly. It's so humorous. And I thought at first, this is going to be like a really, like perhaps a frivolous, very frothy, fun little romantic clef about life on the streets. It's going to be like a little comedy.
You're going to
and
New
then,
York
and then
again.
of course, yeah. Am I? Okay, sorry. And then they go to and then obviously the First World War happens.
Yeah. That
And then it
changes.
just slows down, and you have this almost this deeply sad but poetic sort of almost like a play about marital strife and about a love triangle that sort of plays with everyone and leaves them all sadder. And I just thought it was really wonderful. Really
Somebody,
liked this movie.
please get this man an award for that speech.
Thank you.
Amazing.
Damn,
Amazing.
that was really well. Yeah, that was very well analyzed.
Thank you very
nothing,
much. Thank
Nothing
you.
left to say there.
I felt like I was kind of lost for words actually, but I really like this movie.
Yeah,
so
that
that's
was-
I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, what you said, plus, I
Breathless.
mean, I think what I really like. I guess the first thing that stood out to me was the really creative shots.
Yeah.
Like again, the cinematography. You know, like the pausing of her face. And was this that movie? It was.
They
right?
do some pause, like where she's like,
Yeah,
I
she's
used to smile and be
And then it
happy,
pauses
and
in a
now,
smile,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it was.
I was like,
yeah.
wait, was that Cleo?
And now all I can do is frown, and then
Yeah,
she
and
like
then
does the different
pauses,
looks,
or
and
like
it's-
there's what I like to call the like Vogue like photo shot
The Vogue
where
shots.
she's like walking down and then there's like her side. She's walking down the stairs and
Yeah.
then there's like a shot from the side and then there's like
Yeah.
a front
Oh, it's
profile.
when they first meet her,
When
where
they
she
first
walks
meet
into
her.
that
Yeah.
courtyard, and then
Yeah.
and the camera like comes from
Yeah.
behind her, then
And-
goes from the front,
and it
then
basically
zooms in.
mirrors the slideshow that they watched when they were looking at the sculpture.
Yes.
No,
Because,
she
yeah.
is the sculpture.
She is the sculpture,
Yeah.
but like when they first see her and they first see the sculpture,
Yeah.
it's side profile, front profile,
Yeah.
and that's how the shot was done. And I really just love the technicality because that's the first thing I see.
Oh,
like
yeah.
like I said
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the previous episode, like it was hard to truly like experience the film because like I was reading the subtitles
Yeah,
and
of
looking
course,
at that,
of
and
course,
it was just
yeah.
so much going on. But yeah, I totally agree with what
Were you
Ollie was
challenged
saying.
by this even more? Because I like to think that there's probably more dialogue and more to like read.
Yeah, I mean, it was.
and it's
It was
longer.
a
so-
little bit challenging,
Yeah.
I would have to say, yeah.
Yeah.
But it was very interesting. Like I really loved the use of like archival footage. It was very I can't think of the reference. I'll get back to it. Once I remember. But like initial thoughts, like it was a very impressive movie, and I think I need to watch these films a few more times to take in.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the greatness about these films is that they're so easily rewatchable, and you'll get so much more out of it once you do. But yeah, let's just jump right into it with favorite scene. I mean, there's probably an array of favorite scenes out there. I know I do. I'd struggle. That's probably the one I struggle with the most, actually, is favorite scene, because there was just so many, like you mentioned, creative, technical shots that not just encapsulate the French New Wave in its fully fleshed form of expressivism. Expressivism? Is that a word?
Expression?
No.
Expressiveness?
I'm melting down now.
Expressiveness.
Okay. Fully fledged form of expressiveness. Holy fuck. It's too late for words like that. But yeah, and François Truffaut is just kind of the master at that. You'll see a Varda film, and you'll see a Jean-Luc Godard film, and you'll definitely see the technical aspect. But then you see a François Truffaut, and you're like, what the fuck is? What the hell is he? What is this? So there's scenes like the race on the bridge is such a technical marvel when they're all racing each other, or she challenges them to a race, and it's that pullback and it's the one take, and you're just thinking, how is even the camera holding still right now? Or it's the side profile of her racing, and it's like how. Shot. So a lot of these shots were like improvised. I upon doing some research, that very shot of her racing on the side is basically a guy mounted on a bicycle, and it's just kind of filming it that way. So there's very that sense of guerrilla kind of like filmmaking where they just improvise the shit out of these shots, which I love. But the scene that I will go with that always kind of takes my heart is between Jules and Catherine, or between Jeanne Moreau and Oscar Werner, when it's towards the end of the film, and she comes back to his room and confesses that she still loves him, and that he obviously will never stop loving her. And it's just this close-up of their two faces as each and one of them like kind of kisses one another, and there's tears, and it's just a held close-up, and it's so sad and yet so powerful, and yet so loving, but also ultimately so tragic, because she might just go back and forth into this, and yet he knows that he will always love her no matter what happens. Yeah. And that's where I saw myself as this character, right? Because I was like, fuck, I've been there, man. Or I'm there right now, you know what I mean? Like, I know that person to me, and I know what that means. And it's just to hold such a close-up and to have those performances fueled by the writing and by their chemistry, it's just so powerful and always gets me. And especially with his character this time around.
I mean, a lot of different scenes to pick. A lot of moments as well that really get me rather than full scenes. But
I would really say that's more of a moment.
I liked. I love that scene when she jumps in the Seine.
Oh yeah.
Just because it made me think. Actually, I wonder if Catherine, the character played by Jeanne Moreau, is cinema's first manic pixie dream girl.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like to call her that would be perhaps a disservice to how complex her character is. But that's kind of what she is. She is like that capricious, free-spirited wave that sort of flits in and out of their lives and causes mayhem, but also sort of follows her own impulses, even if that means away from them. And I kind of loved how that scene sort of, I feel like a lot of films, and this gets mocked a lot of the time, you have characters pop up like that character who does something wacky and crazy to show how free-spirited she is. But I feel like it has real purpose and meaning in that scene, because they've just come back from seeing a play. This is when they're quite happy together, just as like a friendship group. And the men are talking about, I think it's like a August Strindberg play. And they just like wax on about this, like, they just talk a lot of like chauvinistic crap basically about what women are, and then she sort of strays ahead of them, and she can't be bothered to listen to their bullshit for that moment, so she decides to just dive into the river, knowing fully well that she might kill herself in doing so. And that says so much about her character and how she can't stand to exist in a moment where when she's having, I guess, being forced to listen to something that she doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
Or has to be confronted with men's perception of women, which is very narrow and boxed in. So I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, she kind of opposes a lot of the feminine qualities that you would have during that time, or even have now.
Well, you have a scene of her where she dresses as a man.
Oh yeah. She challenges a lot of the rhetorics, right? And I think that's what makes her brilliant, is that she always keeps you guessing. And I think that's why these two men fall in love with her, because you never quite know what to expect.
Yeah.
Because there's such brilliance in life that comes out of her that you just want to latch onto it and you want to live with her. And that, funny enough, that scene is the stunt double who was supposed to jump in the river showed up, or didn't show up because she was like drunk or something, and she had to do it herself, this stunt. And the Seine was so cold that she was ill for a couple of days after.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dedication.
Was she an established actor by this point? Because you said that she fronted the costs for the production.
I think she had other means of finances.
Okay.
I said that really weirdly, but I think she was like
she was independently wealthy.
Yeah, she was an independently wealthy person. I don't know if she had made a lot of films before this. I think this definitely established her.
Sure.
This was the movie that shot her into, kind of stardom. But yeah, so you just kind of sense that kind of dedication from this actress, and I don't think anyone else could have played such a character like that. So yeah, Jeanne Moreau is incredible. What about you, Habibi?
I found it hard to truly pick one, just because there's so many like beautiful scenes, like, and it's so different in comparison to what we've seen before, like a small spaces. Like this is such a variety of settings, of
it's
tone,
just like an epic,
like you
if
said.
anything, compared to the other two.
It's kind of like freaking Lord of the Rings in one movie. Like you go to
like
so many
105
places.
minutes.
Yeah. Exactly, in such a short time. So I think just one that stood out to me was when it was Jules, Jim, and I can't remember his name. Antoine?
No, Albert.
Albert, the guy who wants to marry Catherine.
Yeah.
Sort of her lover.
Like the other guy.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so like the fourth wheel, let's put it.
Yeah.
But there's a moment where, like, I think this is right after Jules tells Jim that what's actually going on in the relationship. I think it's the next day. And then was it Antoine again? No. What's his name?
Albert. Yeah.
Albert comes and he
Albert.
like walks across the bridge and like down this path and like speaks to them a little bit. And like I think their daughter comes with, like, he's with his guitar and then he drops it, says hello to the daughter, and it was just such a weird scene to me, because like in Jules and Jim's world, like they were like, no, we're the two guys, and like here comes another guy.
Are you?
Yeah, and it's like,
and also he looks quite similar to Jim. He even has like a mustache at one point.
Yeah, he had shaved it at that point. He's like, I want to grow it back.
Yeah.
And then he just like, and then she like comes out of her door and she calls him over and he goes in, and the sequence of events was just so shocking to me. I don't know. It was just, I wasn't expecting that fourth element of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was also where I saw the tone change from like the first act, where it's kind of like jovial and adventure and Fellowship of the Ring, and this is like the two.
At least
Towers
you're going with the
section.
lore. At least you're going with some Lord of the Rings references this time. No more Harry Potter. You've been banned from.
Did I do Harry Potter the last time?
No.
I
did MI7 recently.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I don't think this film has ever been compared to Lord of the Rings before, but
hey,
why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? I say.
But
I think just like as like variety. Of what Lord of the Rings, and like variety of shots in this 105.
But I feel like you can tell the tonal shift, or you can sense the change in tone from that moment when Jim's character arrives at their home in Germany, where after the war, after they've married. And I thought like the sound design was so clever in that, because he's just on that rocking chair, and for some reason the squeak of that chair and the silence in between, you can just tell instantly that this is not a happy marriage, that they are not getting on well, and that they need Jim to be there in many ways, even though no one says anything to that effect.
Kind of revive there.
They're just there's something so still and quiet about that house.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing when it's Jim and Jules for too long. Sorry, when it's Jim and Catherine for too long, suddenly they need Jules to come in to revive to rekindle their relationship.
They all need each other. They all need each other, but they can't exist in that state forever as well.
Exactly.
There was that montage after Jim and Catherine started sleeping together regularly while she was still married to Jules. And you see that they're actually really happy.
Yeah.
That they're almost living as this weird surrogate family.
Yeah.
Where there's the four of them, and then they're including the daughter.
Including the daughter.
But then you get a sense that that's not going to last, because there's that moment where the narrator mentions that
jealousy
when
seeps
Catherine
in
sleeps with her husband, ironically, Jim gets jealous, even though he's kind of the interloper in a sense.
Yeah, he's the one who's kind of forming this relationship.
Exactly, and then you know that this polyamorous relationship is kind of built on a rocky foundation.
Yeah. It's kind of foreshadowed in that moment. This is going to be my second pick of a scene where it's like right after Jim meets Catherine, and then she asks him to like pick her up for the train the next day when they go on holiday.
Yeah.
And he's like there like, oh, is this bicycle yours? And you can see like there's a little bit of sexual tension building, but he's like, no, my friend told me not this one.
Yeah, not this one. Pas celle-là. Yeah.
Has anyone done that with their guy friend? Like, has anyone been in this situation where, like...
Yes!
No. I mean, like, when you're with your best friend and you like a girl and it's like...
yeah, dude.
Yeah?
You know this.
What do you mean?
You know this story. I'm not gonna... I can't reference names in case they actually do listen to this podcast.
We can cancel it. What?
Yvonne and...
Oh, yeah.
It's like...
oh, yeah, right.
I was like, hey, just don't do it in front of me.
Beep out the names.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean... That's again. My mystery question kind of involves that a little bit. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it when we get to it.
These mystery questions are coming in hot.
Well, I've been lacking.
You're like prompting some real confessionals here.
Yeah, like I might as well get personal with these mystery questions.
Yeah,
right?
I like it.
Because what else? So performances. I mean,
I think the trio.
Yeah, the trio. Right.
It's really hard. It was the same with the last film. It's hard to sort of talk about anyone outside of the leads.
Yeah, because this movie is really about them three,
and they're all fantastic. Like, I'd never seen Oscar Werner in anything before. I thought he was wonderful, so soulful. So he has such sad eyes.
A glorified actor as well. Like
I read about him afterwards, but Jeanne Moreau, I'd only ever seen her in a couple of things, but also Henri Serre.
Henri Serre, what?
I thought he was also very good, but I also thought he was just so handsome.
He's so handsome.
So handsome. I had to say, I was just
handsome,
watching. I was like, your hair is just
beautiful.
Your lips. Hat. I was just like,
hat.
I was like, he was so trendy.
And his mustache as well. I was like,
definitely. And I was like, and I'm like,
he's kind of that.
I don't swing that way, but God, you're beautiful.
Yeah, and he's he's the one who comes out of that bohemian kind of culture and lifestyle
sort of meant
as
to
well.
be the extroverted.
Yeah, he's more of the socialite.
Yeah.
So you get that. He oozes that. You're thinking like, damn, take me out. Show me a good time.
Yeah, it's characterized in the beginning. He was like, because it was his voice, right? Like narrating.
Yeah.
He's like, I've had this girl and I gave him this girl and we're going here and there and blah, blah, blah.
It's like, and like also their friendship is also quite a glue in this movie because, it starts with them. It starts with them.
You know what?
Too.
Sorry, you know what just occurred to me? Another film this most certainly must have influenced.
What's up?
A movie that we talked about on this podcast. Can anyone guess? It goes back quite a couple of years.
Yeah.
A foreign film.
I was gonna say,
Infernal Affairs.
Infernal Affairs?
No, it's not.
No, the one car. No.
It was in one of our summer themes, I believe.
Y tu mamá también.
Yes, right.
That's
yes, right.
Yeah. That's what.
Like, doesn't the dynamic between Jules and Jim kind of remind you of
that was the movie that I was thinking
of?
I mean, literally, that is.
I can't remember their characters' names.
That was exactly like this.
Yeah.
I can't remember their names.
And I imagine Alfonso Cuarón must love the French New Wave and Jules and Jim
for sure.
Yeah,
specifically.
Yeah.
I mean, this, Y tu mamá también is Jules and Jim. If anything, it's like
absolutely.
the Mexican version of Jules and Jim.
Because you even have the getaway as well, where they because in that first third when they go to the seaside, and they have that really cute montage where they're just like poking out the windows of that house.
I think with that film, not to compare it too much, but I think there's more tension between the two males. Like there's more of an aggression.
In what Ni tu mamá también.
In Ni tu mamá también. Yeah.
Whereas they're also like teenagers in that.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas these
guys are like battle-hardened men.
Yeah. There's so much respect, you know? And I'm like, damn.
Oh, that reminds me of that really cute line about how they were both. The thing they were most afraid of during the war was killing each other.
Yeah,
because they weren't opposing.
That was the
sides.
first time, like when I heard they're like, and then the war happened and we were called back to our countries, and I was like, fuck. Like he's on the other side.
Yeah,
like
dude.
I guess he was Austrian or something.
Austrian.
I was like, fuck, man.
Yeah,
And that really broke my heart.
Like that's what it would have been like for many people who had to go through that.
Of
because
course.
the first, so you had like the Weimar Republic in the 1910s. Like Europe was a really in parts was a
the
really
Weimar
swinging
Republic was
liberal
after
progressive.
World War One.
Oh, was it? Oh, you're right. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah.
Oh, but you had La Boheme in France and stuff. So you had the early 1900s.
With still a very unifying, very like
exactly.
Yeah.
And then the war came and it just
split that shit up.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
we could have like had a good fucking, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Fucking hell, war.
Yeah.
If only they
Jesus
hadn't murdered
Christ.
assassinated Franz Ferdinand. You know what I'm saying?
That's it, man.
I mean, you had like people like fucking Picasso and stuff hanging out in France, and like
doing their
so
thing.
many just like amazing,
And
cool
I don't get
movements.
it, but you know what? They're doing it, and I love that.
Yeah, right? I love that.
I'm doing it. And they're like, yeah.
All right, guys. Favorite quote.
I don't really know his music, but he's doing it, and I love it.
Wow. Favorite quote. I'll go first. I'll start us off, and I'll say it's again one of Oscar's or Jules' quotes, and it's when Jim goes up to him, and kind of confesses that he's in love with, or he's starting to have feelings for Catherine, and Oscar says, "Love her, be with her. I'm just an obstacle," and I was just like, damn, like I've uttered those words, you know what I mean? Like I've been there, and that to be so giving, to be so open, to be so transparent, and to be so honest with your friend, and to, obviously sacrifice a lot of yourself in order for your friend to also experience this, the relationship between this amazing woman.
And I think it's telling that the film is called Jules and Jim because in some way it's about their love for one another as much as it's about their love for this woman.
For sure. Like there's a reason why it's titled this way. And I think this encapsulates that relationship is that they're so giving to each other and they never fight. They never kind of argue. There's always this kind of sense of respect and love and admiration for one another that they would be willing to, even though they both love the same woman uncontrollably, they would both, share that love. That's so beautiful, man. Anyway.
Yeah. I was gonna kind of like piggyback on that,
Yeah.
but like I mentioned the quote just now. It's the not this one. Yeah.
I mentioned the quote before. It's just not this one.
Yeah, no, but when he says not this one, that was actually the quote was not this one.
Yeah.
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 And it just like they
Pasella.
Pasella.
Yeah. Was that also titled in your? Because in the French, as in without the subtitles for us, like when I watch it and it's
it
pure
says
form.
There were things that was written
That came out.
Yeah.
That one came out. Pasella.
Yeah.
And I was like, how intentional.
That was one of the
How
bits that kind of pissed me off because there was like the English subtitles on the French subtitles, so like I couldn't really tell like what was going on like underneath.
What was intentional? What was not?
Exactly.
Well, that was.
Yeah, that line was. I don't know, just brought me back to being a kid and being like, yeah, no, I like this chick.
Yeah,
and I saw her
yeah,
first.
of course.
She's my crush.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like
don't do that.
Yeah. But like what you said about like their friendship and their respect for one another. Like Jim even says like, every time when he like you hear his internal thoughts. He's like, it was always not this one. Yet he still like, I guess, succumbs to his inner urges, or like, yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
My quote I picked was one from the narrator, and it's when Jim and Catherine spend their first night together, and the narrator says, or at least this is the English line, it was their first kiss and it lasted all night. And I thought that was so poetic and beautiful.
So French as well.
I know, like a first kiss that lasts all night.
Yeah.
I thought it was beautiful.
That was one thing, like this entire film, I'm like, damn, this is French as fuck. This film is so French.
This is French as fuck. Yeah.
This is a panty dropper of a film, man.
Yeah, dude. 100%. Makes you think about a lot of things.
I was like, no wonder, like the stereotype of like, people want to like,
or people want to share love, or people want to like.
But there was that scene where she's like, don't bother talking to this lady. Like, she has nothing up there. She's only like, she's only good for sex.
Yeah.
I was like, fucking
hell.
my
God, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
and she just like kind of stares.
She's just like,
well, there's also like, I mean, there's obviously that, but then there's also the freedom of sexual expression, of sexuality.
They gave you a sense of how liberated that
right?
time was.
That's what I'm like. That's what I'm saying. Like Truffaut doesn't make any of that sound negative, regardless of where you lie on the love/sexual spectrum. You know, it all is like out there on the table, and it's all okay in that world.
And again, you don't judge these characters for doing what they do. There's no judgment. That's what I love about this film. Whereas, like, let's say if this film was made, again, maybe in the United States, if Hollywood had made this film, or if it was an American film dealing with love triangle, which Hollywood has done many a times, there's always something quite negative.
There's always someone in the wrong.
There's always someone in the wrong. There's always someone who accuses someone. There's always jealousy or envy.
Moralizing.
Well, like Y tu mamá también. Like there was
a little
jealousy,
bit. There's
Like,
and that kind of governed a lot of the situations. Whereas, this is less that. This is more.
It's this kind of like this sort of suggests that this earlier time period, like even when this film was released, or when the period in time that they're depicting on screen was somehow ironically more progressive or less repressive, or like less restrictive than the time we live in now. Because I don't think people would be so understanding, or shall we say French, about your best friend having an affair with your partner.
I mean, there are still some, micro communities or cultures.
Sure,
that
but you wouldn't see it in a mainstream film. I think.
No, yeah. Well, Again, I don't unless you are showing a specific kind of demographic of people that do still express that kind of love, which there are.
It reminded me a lot of like the Beatnik kind of.
Oh, 100%, 100%. The Beatniks, they probably had that. They should do a Beatnik film, man. That's someone should do a Beatnik film out there, kind of, highlighting that era.
We should do it.
We 100%. All right. Before we run out of time, I am going to offer my mystery question, and
we have armchair as well. Well,
right, armchair.
I kind of alluded to it that not really an armchair per se, but the whole like the woman being like,
oh sure, there are still some
meat. There was a few bits. I'm like,
this
wouldn't work now.
This wouldn't fly.
Yeah,
this wouldn't fly.
Is there anything else you guys want to add?
No, I put down no notes.
No notes.
I think for me, I watched it again, and I thought maybe it's running time pushed it a bit too long. There were moments where I thought, it could have been reduced, but. Yeah, like we've done with these films, that's just nitpicking. I do feel like it's a near perfect film for sure. Right, mystery question. Have you ever experienced a love triangle with a best friend? Or have you ever experienced those kind of feelings where both you and your best friend or a very close friend have the same kind of feeling towards another girl or another girl? Because we're all heterosexual males in this podcast.
I don't know if I've been caught in like an active triangle, not least to my knowledge. I mean, I'm sure I probably had a crush on someone and my friend also had a crush on them. That's just inevitably going to happen. Yeah. But I did date someone, and then after we broke up, a friend of ours who dated them as well. I remember not really caring about it that much of the time. I remember getting a little bit weirded out at first, but I don't think I was preoccupied enough with that to really care.
Because I think in Singapore it was bound to happen, wouldn't it? Like it was bound to happen where we would like
Singapore's
kind of
very incestuous. Like,
yeah,
right. Back on it, I was just
Right?
like,
especially like your little group.
Yeah. Well,
Like
especially
you and
fucking
Cody, I
Raph.
swear.
Especially Raph, dude.
Same five
Raph
people.
is a slut.
I would be the French. I would be the French slut. I would be the
no
gym.
slut shaming here. You
Yeah,
fuck
no.
whatever you want to fuck.
Yeah.
I would be the gym a little bit. Yeah,
There was a lot of sharing partners. shall
There
we
was
say.
definitely a lot of sharing salivas. Yeah, I mean, that's a pretty good example. And I think, in Singapore, again, we're bound to maybe have like, romantic affairs with some of the same people because we're
a small pool.
Yeah, such a small pool, such a small
Yeah.
crew. And we all hung out with each other. We all
Yeah.
went to the same club.
Yeah.
And that's where, all sorts of like sexual like energies kind of were exploded in Zerka.
Yeah.
So yeah, for sure. That's where we explored our
think-
sexuality.
I think for me,
Thank
it
you,
was,
Zerka.
Thank you, Zerka. Yeah, no, I think for me, it was always just like when I was like quite young,
Yeah.
like let's say 11, 12 years old, where you're like first getting these like, it's a crush,
These
but it's like
feelings.
different, like,
Yeah.
you're getting more feelings. And I remember, me and my friend, we had a crush on the same girl.
Hey yo.
But then
He's no longer your friend.
No, we're still friends. We're still best friends. But like, I just never wanted to be in that situation again.
Yeah.
So I made the
Yeah.
decision that like, whenever if it ever gets close to it, like, unless I am the clear choice, like, I'm gonna pull myself out.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was never really maybe this had more to do with my own self-esteem or confidence rather than anything else. But I never wanted to duel for a woman's
Yeah,
affections
yeah.
or like compete with anyone.
Yeah.
One, because I think that's kind of demeaning to the woman
Exactly.
or the object of your affection that's involved. But also, I just didn't like.
Sometimes
there was so
it's
much,
out of
I think it's-
there was
I
so
think
much
it's more
competition with
mean.
with young men in the first
Yeah.
place. I really didn't want to have to compete
Yeah,
for
especially with a
someone's-
friend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was more of a like ego thing for me. It's like if you're not gonna go 100% Jibril,
Yeah.
then go fuck yourself. Like you want,
You're
you
not
gotta,
full
yeah.
halal. Get out of here.
Yeah, no, then it's haram, man. Get out.
You need to be wahed.
Yeah, the number one. Jibril, number one inside the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little.
Yeah.
Arabic
No, I get
finger
that.
snap.
And there's definitely a lot of people experience that, right? Where we're very monotonous. Monogamous with our
Sure.
feelings.
Yeah, and I think it was also like a self-preservation thing as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I think there probably were instances where I found out someone else liked somebody, and so then I would sort of retreat. When
Yeah,
when I was younger,
yeah.
because I didn't want to face the pain of perhaps
Yeah.
being rejected and
Of not being the right guy.
right, or being
Yeah.
rejected in favor of somebody else.
Of course.
And then you have to look at them and think like. And obviously, you
They
grow
got
up
the
and you
girl.
mature and you realize that that's not about that. It's more complicated. But you're like, oh, I guess they're better than me.
The one that got away.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah. I mean, you know my story, and like I maybe have more of that that Jules-esque kind of experience where I've been in a love triangle where it was very tricky, especially experiencing it in different countries where we were all kind of in different situations, but it was such in hindsight, such a beautiful experience to have in your 20s because you get so much insight on how complex love can be.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of
how
like
it's not one thing.
it's kind of like love without romance in a way.
Yeah.
It's not like the romantic dream.
No, but it's this kind of love, right? Where it's kind of uncontrollable, and you're both infatuated by the same woman, and yet you both want to give respect to this person and to the person who's also loving this.
Yeah.
So it's like, and this balance is very tricky because jealousy is a feeling that we all have, and it seeps in and it poisons, and and it's also something that's natural. It's only human to feel such a thing. So to navigate those emotions without having to hurt the other person, you know what I mean? And it's like none of us wanted to hurt each other, yet ultimately it imploded because it's such a triangle is such a delicate thing. It's like if it falls, then it's just broken.
Yeah.
And it's kind of irreparable, So, but it's again such a influential and experimental and insightful thing to have experienced in my 20s, because now I fucking write poems about it. Now I fucking have it in my acting, and now it's like it's something that's enriched me as a human and as an artist.
Sure.
Yeah. So I get why that La Bohème with the Bohemian era had a lot of that complexion and served to create more emotional complexity between humans.
Yeah.
But anyways,
Well said.
That's it. Ratings.
Yeah, ratings.
Yeah, perfect timing too. I'm gonna give this a lower score than Cleo, but probably a higher score than Breathless, and I will give it 9.6 Jim mustaches out of 10.
Nice.
I think I said at the beginning I was bowled over by this film.
Yeah, damn.
So for me, it's a perfect 10. 10 out of 10 steam train cigarettes.
Boom.
Therese. We didn't mention Therese, who I thought was a delightful supporting character.
Oh yeah.
The woman they met at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
And then she has that bit where she does the steam train cigarette, but then she also talks about all the adventures she's been on since she last saw Jim. I thought that was a really funny scene.
Yeah.
I remember that was like, damn, like, is that a fucking real cigarette?
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God. Yeah, because it was all one shot. Yeah. I was like, ouch. Like, that's scary.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. It's scary.
That's scary, man.
It's scary. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I really want to watch it again.
Nice.
But
I don't know.
I still think 400 Blows is
the
just
one that blew
the
you
one
away.
that blew me away. Yeah.
It's the one that blew me.
Yeah, 400 times. Yeah. Yes, I'll give it 8.5 out of 10 guitars.
Nice.
Yeah. Right on, man.
That Albert had.
So we are ending on a high. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
So
I thought this was maybe like going to be the one.
I think
the big one.
I really like this one.
Cool.
Is he the king of French New Wave?
What,
Truffaut?
Yeah. Some people argue he started it with 400 Blows,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
That might
People
have
would
been-
say that's the kind of
I don't know.
the light that started the
Yeah,
fire.
I don't know.
I think
he was possibly the most successful out of them in terms of looking at his full catalog,
filmography,
and how successful he was over in a relatively short amount of time. Because I guess he was only making movies for about 3 decades.
Right.
Yeah. But that there is no arguing that it wouldn't have the French New Wave wouldn't have started without a multitude and many minds to cultivate it. So without Agnès, there wouldn't be Truffaut. Without Truffaut, there wouldn't be Godard. And they
go
all
beyond that to Jacques Demy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they all
Alain
influenced
René.
each other, and they all helped each other as well to fund and to carry this wave forward. Because a movement doesn't start with one person; it starts with many.
Yeah. Well, that's a great sum up of the theme.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've got Ollie's theme next. Is it Korean?
Wait, don't we announce this on the bonus?
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Spoiler alert!
Well, the next theme is going to be Ollie's. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's going to be Ollie's. And thank you for listening. We got the bonus ode next, episode 102.
Whoa.
Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, give us a 5-star rating. Spotify, Apple Podcasts.
Damn, we're everywhere.
Whatever. Yeah, YouTube. Yeah, YouTube. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube.
We're going to get on that video in the near future.
Yeah,
Don't you worry.
Don't you worry. It's actually coming very soon. We tried it out for like a previous episode, but it didn't really work out because I fucked up. But it's coming.
I forgive you.
Don't worry. All right. Ciao for now, my people. Love you.